How much vitriol do we have to see of honk honk, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler, do we need to see by these protesters on social media?
That was Yara Sachs, a Liberal member of Parliament here in Canada. What on earth was she playing at? The same thing the entire Trudeau government was doing in February of 2022 during the Freedom Convoy, denigrating working class people peacefully protesting in their nation's capital. This is Merrick Jacks from Not Your Donkey. For week number 2 of Dispatches from Communist Canada, I'll focus on Trudeau's tyranny against people who disagreed with him. The majority of Canadians are in denial about the state of their nation as it free falls in slow motion into a form of communism I call soft communism. For the record, communists sent my Estonian grandfather to Siberia. I have relatives and friends who were trapped behind the Iron Curtain for decades. We know tyranny when we see it. Key features of tyrannical rule are that the government, 1, overrules rights, 2, applies political oppression, and 3, engineers fear in the population. Tyranny was in full view during the Freedom Convoy. Trudeau treated the truckers badly. He insulted them, wouldn't speak with them, and overruled their rights. Doesn't matter how much you smile, Mr. Trudeau. Tyranny is tyranny. And while Liberals living comfortable lives held contempt for these working class protesters, turned out that what the Prime Minister did to them was illegal. Using the police illegally spells tyranny, don't you think? In an unprecedented move, Trudeau illegally invoked what was called the War Measures Act at one time. It's now called the Emergencies Act, using it as an excuse to attack, assault, and round up peaceful protesters and freeze the bank accounts of hundreds of people. Turns out the bank CEOs did that so gleefully, which I'll speak about in the next dispatch from Communist Canada. The court found that the government violated freedom of expression and our protection against unreasonable search and seizure. While the government didn't technically seize bank accounts, it did ask the banks to freeze the bank accounts of hundreds of Canadians without due process or judicial oversight. Tyrannical. The convoy grew spontaneously. At first, it was just some trucks from Prince Rupert on the west coast. Then hundreds joined them along their 3,400-mile journey to the world's coldest capital, Ottawa, in February. From the East Coast and across Quebec, more truckers joined in, and it was the largest convoy in history. Along the way, many Canadians from all walks of life lined up across the bridge to cheer them on. I did too, and then I decided to go to Ottawa. Unlike the truckers who really put their heart and soul and thousands of dollars into speaking their mind, I put aside enough money for 2 nights at the Econo Lodge to join them, packed up my SUV, made dog-sitting arrangements for my little dog Stella, and off I went.
Stella? Okay, so we're ready to roll. And Stella is actually on her way to a babysitter's because she's too tiny to go protesting. We're heading off with cookies, thank you notes, clementines because they're healthier than cookies in case people would prefer that. And I've got my coffee maker packed and overnight stuff and so on because I want the truckers to know how impressed I am with their wisdom, their courage, and their leadership in this country. Very, very proud of them. And go Freedom Convoy 2022. No matter what happens, you're going to go home as heroes. Stella agrees. Right, Stella?
Yes, there was honking. A government employee took the protesters to court, and the judge ruled that the honking had to stop, but the protest was legal. Canadians have a right to protest. Let me repeat this again. Canadians have a right to protest, and the judge made it clear that we can protest our government's actions. We just can't honk wildly about it. But a great-grandfather driving along in his minivan honked. Yep, the Ottawa police got right to it, stopping a honking 4'10" great-grandpa. What happened next is so ridiculous, it's horrifying. In this video, the police officer explains that the old man was pulled over because honking bothers people, and he points to the apartment building behind him. The old man rummages for his ID, and as tempers are flaring, the police officer says that people in the apartment building just don't want to hear honking. For podcast listeners, you will hear police officers saying that the old man has to answer questions, which is not true. The old man does need to provide ID and identify himself. As he rummages for his wallet, he unfortunately decides not to provide it and gets roughly handled. The police officer twists the old man's arm, who then falls to the ground, trying to balance himself on one knee. The officers push him up against the car. Once handcuffed, the old man gets frog-marched to the police car, all 4'10" of him, firmly held between two very tall men in uniform. It's a terribly embarrassing look for a Canadian.
Yes, I know. You're abusing old men.
You swung at me.
That you're not a Canadian.
If I swung at you, it's on film, so you're fine. Drive
Because
it.
I tooted the horn.
Yeah.
Come ahead. Yeah, it's called communism.
That is why you're pulled over.
It's called communism.
Driver's
That's right. He's a supporter for Canadian freedom. Who cares? They shouldn't live in the capital of Canada then. They better leave. Because until the mandates are ended, this is not going to stop. Stop harassing old men. You don't have to show them anything. It's against the law. You just... For what? Hey! What are you doing? Hey! Hey! That's assault! I've got it all on video. Yeah, he failed to ID. You're back! Hey! Hey! Communism. This is communism. He's scared. Communist.
You stand with the communist fucking government.
Call your police chief. He'll back you up.
Call the police.
Call your police chief. Arrested an old man. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah, I know he beat the horn. What the fuck do they represent? They represent Trudeau and the police chief slowly. That's what they represent. Hate, division. You are not protecting and serving nobody. Arrested an old man. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah, I know he beat the horn. What the fuck do they represent? They represent Trudeau and the police chief slowly. That's what they represent. Hate, division. You are not protecting and serving nobody.
Let's remember, this is how the protest started. Happy, hopeful, full of families and a bouncy castle and even a hot tub. I was there. While Canada's media tried to pretend that this was a dangerous bunch, I experienced people who cared enough about democracy and their right to demand changes that they lost thousands of dollars in income and paid thousands of dollars to drive thousands of miles across the country to make their voices heard. That's called democracy. The truckers couldn't access any sanitary facilities, so they brought their own porta potties. The city of Ottawa closed the restaurants so they couldn't get easy access to food, so they brought their own food stands, their own music, and as I mentioned, a hot tub and a bouncy castle. I found that truckers were more up to date on the side effects of the vaccine and also on significant censorship legislation that Trudeau was proposing at the time, unlike my liberal friends back home. They were warm and friendly and fed us breakfast for free. Even the homeless were welcome to a good hot meal. Some men bagged up the garbage each day while others shoveled the snow. All of this wonderful behavior really upset the authorities. The weekend of February 5th was very cold, with the weather dropping to minus 15 degrees Celsius or 5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when the police decided to seize the truckers' heating fuel and promptly threatened to arrest anyone who brought food or fuel to the truckers. So, hundreds of Canadians brought food and fuel. I brought a jerry can and cookies and tangerines, and by the way, the tangerines instantly froze. But I guess it was the idea that counts. I hope so anyway. One Polish woman who suffered under communism and now owns a grocery store in Toronto loaded up her van with barbecues and sausages and all the fixings. Some of her staff even jumped into the van to come along and help. Many people brought their children to Ottawa. Why? Well, there was going to be a long time, it was a long trip, and also many wanted to show their children, maybe for the first and only time, the capital of their country and to watch democracy in action. I myself have brought my children to protests. This is Canada. We are a peaceful people. And so parents wouldn't expect to be terrorized by authorities. They wouldn't expect to have their heating fuel removed. They wouldn't expect what was about to unfold. The fear tactics just weren't working. Yet Trudeau continued to warn Canadians not to support the truckers. There'd be a price to pay for all this peaceful protesting. Police threatened to take the truckers' children into child protective services, and this terrified many families. But that's just part of the tyrannical process, isn't it? Fear. Police then warned that the truckers' pets might be seized. More fear. I was already back home by then, and I tried to reach the Convoy organizers. I wanted to tell them that I would be happy to try to get back to Ottawa and take 5 pets into my care so that the truckers who got arrested wouldn't have to worry about their dogs while the police were dealing with them. This is how the protest ended. Riot police beating protesters and police horses trampling into a crowd, knocking people over, with one woman in a wheelchair being knocked underfoot, her collarbone broken. I happen to know horses. They're careful not to step on people if they can avoid it. The police officer, in my opinion, guided the horse toward endangering Canadian citizens. I guess he really hated honking too.
They just fully trampled that lady. They just fully trampled that lady. Oh, there's the lady. There's the lady that was trampled. Yeah, the lady got fully trampled by the horse. What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
There's a lot more to say about what the Minister of Finance back then, Chrystia Freeland, talked about with bank CEOs the day before the Emergency Act was illegally invoked. And that will be in the next dispatches from Communist Canada. For now, let's take a look at how pleased she was with herself as she flexed her tyrannical muscles against those who dared challenge the government. For podcast listeners, as the journalist asks Freeland questions, Chrystia Freeland laughs and giggles. It's disgusting, to put it mildly.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering whether the bank accounts will be targeted of individuals who donated to the Give, Send, Go and the GoFundMe campaigns. Are they considered designated people under the Emergencies Act, meaning that their credit cards could be cut and financial services are targeting them as well?
What would have been hard for me to comprehend just 10 years ago is how easily it is to go from a democracy to a tyrannical, oppressive regime. When bank accounts were frozen, people's lives unraveled. Think what would happen to you if you couldn't pay your mortgage, buy your food, pay for heat in your home, your insurance, your telephone bill. The list goes on. The Trudeau Liberals and their supporters were okay with all of that. Proud even. That doesn't bode well for Canada. In closing, let me leave you with this montage of clips featuring the peaceful protesters being beaten, kicked, attacked, and degraded at the behest of Canada's tyrannical government. I'm sorry, I don't know who put this together, but it is very powerful, so please watch.
Goose! 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 Okay. On out of the car.
From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
This is Merritt Jacks from Not Your Donkey. We who are wise to the ways of communism see it building here in this cold and vast and once incredibly lovely country. Stay tuned for next week's Dispatches from Communist Canada. Remember, if we don't protect democracy today, how will our children enjoy their tomorrows?